Hey there YouTube, Michael Gallagher here with a bit of an update video. A few months ago I recorded my unboxing of the MacBook Air. I didn't upload the video at the time because I wanted to upload this video sort of within a very short time frame. What I'd like to do is to go into the things today, having used the MacBook now for about a year or so, that I like and the things that I dislike about the MacBook. Just to quickly recap, if you haven't seen the video, I'll put a card to it here. But effectively, I've been using a PC for years and years and years. My PC had Pro Tools on it, I had a load of Waves plugins, and I'd been using it for well over 10 years. And I liked it because I knew how to use it. And sometimes that's almost more important than having the latest software. I knew how to use Pro Tools, or at least I knew how to use it to the extent that I needed to use it. And part of the reason I had put off buying either a new PC or a MacBook was because I had all of my software in that computer. It was a HP computer, and I didn't want to have to go through the hassle, to be honest, of trying to re-upload software to a new computer. The idea of having to transfer everything that I had on my existing laptop to a new one was effectively putting me off getting a new laptop. But my other laptop had become quite slow. It was taking quite a lot of time to boot up, and a lot of the newer applications wouldn't work on it. So I couldn't, I was using Piano Tech, which is my favourite piano modeler. You press too many notes and have the pedal down at the same time, it started to crash on me. I couldn't run that and say like the drum machine. I've got some Native Instruments Studio Drummer on Native Instruments. I had loads of drum machines that I sort of had cracked versions of, but I couldn't use 2 or 3 virtual instruments at the same time. I would have to play a virtual instrument, put it onto an audio track, and then it was a whole process, and it was getting too much. And I knew that a newer computer would be much more powerful and probably could run lots of applications at once. So when it came time to look at a new computer, I was in the market probably for a Mac because I've got iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch. I'm in the system, I've got the Apple TV, I'm sort of in the ecosystem. And I love all of those products. I don't have a problem with any of them. But the Mac was so expensive in comparison to a PC, I was really put off buying a Mac, primarily because of the price. But I was lucky enough to have the money to be able to buy it, and so I thought I'm going to take the plunge, I'm going to try it out. I'm going to buy it online, so I've got a right of return if I absolutely hate it. I didn't anticipate I'd hate it for a second. At the time, Apple had just released the M1 chips as well, so this Mac has an M1 chip and was probably powerful enough to run video editing applications and audio software. So the question is, do I like it? And the answer to the question, in a nutshell, is I absolutely love it, and I probably wouldn't go back to a PC. If I was told you can either have a Mac or a PC, I probably would choose the Mac. And this is the MacBook Air. Of course, you can get the even more powerful MacBook Pro. It's a fantastic machine. There's no question about it. I was really impressed because, things like YouTube videos. I would record and edit a YouTube video historically on my PC. It was old. It was over a decade old, to be fair, and I'm surprised it could run the software at all. It was amazing that it could do what it could do. But when I would then go to upload the video and sort of, mux it all together, I'd often be waiting, 3-4 hours. And I'd sometimes just put it on overnight, leave it and come back to it the next morning and hope that I'd set it all up properly. And then I'd upload to YouTube. Huge process, really huge process. The first time I did a video on the Mac, it took 3 minutes to mux the thing together, and then it was almost as fast to upload it. So that indicates how much more powerful this machine actually is. And more than that, when I'm editing a video, I can have 2 or 3 videos going at the same time, and I can watch them. I couldn't do that on the PC. I used to have to do this awkward, really time-consuming process where I would do the first video and then I would kind of partially render it, and then I could work on the second video and partially render that, and then I could have a third video and I would render them effectively to save computing power. I don't need to do that on this. You put 4 or 5 videos into this MacBook Air and it plays them all perfectly. You can edit them, you can work on them, you can pause them, you can keyframe them, you can do all kinds of things on it. I've got the magic mouse with the click of a button, so easy. The same thing with my audio software. I can now record, I can have MIDI drums playing, I can have a MIDI piano part going, I can have a MIDI bass part going, I can have, it almost seems limitless. I haven't run out of computing power in anything I've done. And I think that speaks to the power of the M1 chip And I think the M1 chip's actually been improved since then. So I do have to give Apple kudos for providing something that really is of a high quality and, you know, is good value for money, even though it's so expensive. You'll see from the last video I ran into a few problems. The first one was I could upload Pro Tools to the Mac, but it was going to be a subscription service and it was going to be very expensive. Just over, I mean, even to this point, I would already have paid, I think, over £1,000 towards the subscription. And of course, I can buy Logic, which is Apple's version, effectively, of Pro Tools. I think for £200 flat fee. It was about 199 quid flat fee. And so I decided to change Digital Audio Workstation as a result of that. I've been using Logic now since I've had the Mac. Do I like it as much as Pro Tools? I think I'm getting better results with it, to be honest, probably because the computer's more powerful and I can just do more with it. The interface I don't find quite as friendly as Pro Tools is. I think Pro Tools has a slightly better interface. But you know what? It has everything you could want on it, and the interface isn't bad. It's just not as good as Pro Tools. Would I go back to Pro Tools factoring in the cost? Absolutely not. I am perfectly happy with the interface on Logic, and everything I've recorded over the last 12 months, a lot of it's going to be uploaded to this channel very soon, has been recorded either with the Tascam Model 12 or with Logic. So Pro Tools in the old computer is just sitting abandoned, effectively. The thing I love about Logic is the plugins. I mean, the stock plugins that come with it sound amazing. They sound really great. The reverbs in it are amazing. The EQs in it are amazing. And then I've bought a few of my Waves plugins that I really loved and used. So I've bought the Andrew Sheps plugin from Waves. It's got a compressor, an EQ, a de-esser. I've bought some reverbs that I really like, but I tend to use the stock plugins in Logic anyway. I bought the tape emulation, the J37 tape emulation, which I use a lot from Waves. Fantastic. I mean, Logic as a program is great. And of course, it's made for a Mac, so it runs perfectly on it. I haven't had it crash on me once. I've had absolutely no issues with it at all. The startup time is fantastic. I turn the computer on and I'm recording or mixing within 3 or 4 minutes and with no hassle. I can't say the same for the PC. It used to sometimes take a long time to load up, especially if the PC was updating. It could take half an hour just to get into your session. And then, you know, if it was underpowered for some reason, it would glitch and cause all kinds of problems. So it's doing what it needs to do. It runs in the background and I forget about it and I can concentrate on making music, which is the most important thing, and that's why it's here. So it's serving its function and then some. Video editing. I was using a cracked version of Premiere Pro. I didn't want to use any cracked versions on the Mac. I just put so much money into it. I didn't want to risk any viruses or anything of that nature. And so I looked at Premiere Pro. Again, same company who do Pro Tools. It was very expensive. So I started shopping around. Apple's version, again, was about £200. There is a version that's free called iMovie, and you've also got GarageBand that comes bundled with your Mac when you buy it. They're both really good. They're a little bit limited for what I use. I don't like GarageBand because it doesn't have a mixer, and I wanted a mixer, and that was a deal breaker for me, although it was very intuitive and very easy to record with. iMovie, great for this kind of video where the audio is already synced, but if I have external audio, if I have more than one camera, it had massive limitations, and so it was no good for me. So I shopped around and I found DaVinci Resolve, which is completely free. It's a fantastic editing program. It handles every file you can throw at it. It does audio sync, multicam editing, color correction. It does the lot. It does everything I need it to do, and so I've been using that. And again, it runs absolutely flawlessly on the Mac, and as I said, I could have 2, 3 or 4 video files running at the same time, and it doesn't stress it in any way, shape or form. It just plays perfectly, even as I'm editing. And then it renders down, as I said, very quickly. We're talking in a few minutes as opposed to a few hours on my PC. So basically, would I go back? No, I absolutely love it. I think it's a beautiful looking machine. I think it's a sleek design. I think under the hood, it does everything you need it to do fantastically well. I like Apple products. I wouldn't call myself an Apple fanboy. I always want to sort of push away from them. So I want to use, you know, the Google phone. I'd love to get it, but I can't, because every time I've tried to use an Android phone, I've always thought, this is not as good as the Apple, in my heart of hearts. I've got a Roku streaming stick, I've got an Apple TV. There's a massive discrepancy in price between those two items, but the Apple TV is head and shoulders better in terms of the picture quality it delivers and everything that it does. The Roku TV is fine for what it is, but it's no Apple TV. So everything they do this far has been quality, and I've loved. Anything that I don't like about it, there are a few things I don't like about it. The connectivity for me is a bit of an issue. I had to buy this extra dongle to go with it, which is a pain because I want to be able to put, USB devices and extra hard drives and things just into the side of it. And I don't have that. I had to buy a dongle that goes into like a lightning port back here, and it makes it a bit more cumbersome than it should be. Whereas I don't see why they don't just leave some USB inputs and outputs on the machine. As I understand it, the older Apple Macs, you could open them up and you can upgrade the memory. I wouldn't open this up because I don't need to. I don't need to upgrade the memory at this point. It's fantastic for what it is. But it's annoying that in a few years' time I would have to buy another Mac because I can't upgrade the memory and so on and so forth. That's a bit annoying. The screen is a bit small, to be honest. I think you could buy a bigger model, but it was more money again. But I think for the money that you're spending, the screen could be a little bit bigger, if I'm honest. It's not a deal breaker. I use another monitor. I actually use two screens. So I've normally got, if I'm mixing in Logic, I've got my mixer screen here, and then I've got my basic screen with my transport and everything on that. And of course I'm using the Model 12 as well, basically as a controller. They're the things I think I don't like about it. You can't plug things into it. And this is old school, but I would love it to have a DVD, Blu-ray drive. I don't see for this money why it shouldn't have that. It wouldn't be quite as sleek, I know, but I like to have a drive. I like CDs, I like DVDs, I like Blu-rays, I like to be able to burn them. Not a big issue, again, I can stick an external drive into it, but I would like to have the drive actually in the machine. But they are my only real criticisms of it. The machine does everything that it says on the tin, and it does it to a very, very high standard. And so for that reason, I wholeheartedly recommend, if you're on PC, and if you have got an older PC that needs to be upgraded because you're doing some fairly, power-hungry exercises like audio production or video production, try a Mac. If you have an opportunity to get one, get one. Even if you get an older one, maybe. I think the older ones are really powerful as well. Depends how old they are, obviously. But a few years old in the second-hand market from CEX, you can probably get a good deal. I bought mine from Apple brand new. I haven't had any issues with it at all. As soon as I got out of the box, it pretty much worked. The only problems and teething problems I had was having to change the software that I was using. But I did that for monetary reasons. If money was not an object, I probably would have continued using Pro Tools. But now I'm working with Logic and DaVinci Resolve. I'm really happy with them both, and I'm not going to go back. And if someone was to say to me, do you want to go back to Pro Tools? I'd say, no, I've spent all this time now learning how to use Logic, and I'm feeling comfortable with Logic, so I'm probably going to stay with that. I'm glad I made the jump. I'm glad I was able to buy it, and I've used it an awful lot, and I'm really, really, really happy with it. So I'm just doing some video editing. I'm going to get back to that now because I want to try and upload some more videos to the channel this year, and I'll see you on the next one. If you like the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Take care, bye-bye.